This is PTSD blog 82612.2, and we are talking with Lauren, my fiance.
Hi.
Okay, baby. Now, you've been with me on this roller coaster for a minute now. We've been together, what, 3 years? Going on 3.5?
Going on 3.
Going on 3. My bad. Memory shot. Anyway. I know it was rough in the beginning, when we first started. All bullshit aside. But when did things really get bad?
When we moved up here.
That was
August of 2010.
August of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And
we started dating fucking whatever you want to call it. December of 2009.
December of 2009.
Yes.
I love how frank she is. Okay, so what are some of the things that you noticed before I started getting counseling?
You'd go into a black hole. You'd keep me at an arm's length. You'd tell me things were like taken care of and they wouldn't be. When I needed you there for me, you didn't know how to be. Mainly I also noticed it more towards like July when the fireworks happened. Your memory loss. You would forget something or it'd be like right in front of your face or something like that. So, and I noticed that started to bother you. Okay. But mainly it was a black hole.
Yeah.
And I think there were a lot of things that you were feeling that you couldn't describe to me. There were a lot of things, like you would talk to girls on Facebook about previous relationships that you would have. There were a lot of things that you were doing that I just didn't understand. And I'd always yell because that's all I know how to do when I get really frustrated. And I never could understand it. I always felt like you had your head shoved up your ass, which is my only way of describing it because in my head, logically, it didn't make sense, the things that you were doing, the actions that you were taking, why you were putting our relationship in such jeopardy. And it just seemed to me like you had your head shoved up your ass because you couldn't explain it to me. You never knew what it was. And because I never got an explanation, my only explanation was you had your head shoved straight up your ass. And that was it.
And what was the real reason?
Real reason was PTSD. It really started right after July 4th. We saw the fireworks together. We walked. Cal Expo's just right around the corner from us, literally. And we walked that night. It was a beautiful night. We walked to go see the fireworks. It was really, really crowded. I noticed that you'd get a little nervous in crowded situations, but at the time I didn't think anything of it. I really had no idea that so many things were interrelated. Where we were was really crowded and we had Trinity with us, and right across the street was this open parking lot and there wasn't very many cars in it. It was kind of fenced off. And so we went down and I remember sitting down on the concrete and concrete was still warm from the day. And we sat there and we watched the fireworks blow up right over our head. We were so close that even the ones that just get launched off the ground we could see clear as day. Or even people like shooting off fireworks around us. Everything seemed fine when we got home. I noticed you were a little nervous and twitchy let me back up. I noticed you were a little nervous and twitchy during the fireworks, and you were holding Trin. And I figured that had to have been because of your service. I mean, fireworks kind of do sound like a battleground, if you think about it.
Guns going off.
Yeah. So I figured it, but you and I hadn't talked much about it, so I didn't really think much. I think I always felt like I knew in the back of my head. because I grew up in the military. I grew up in the military. Men in my family have served in the military for generations. So I get it, but I don't get it. You know, my dad didn't have PTSD. He never served in a war. But I'm sure my uncle and my grandfather have. But no direct relationships with them in terms of their PTSD. I mean, that's kind of silly to say or hard to say, because if you're being affected by PTSD, it affects all of your life and all of your relationships. So I did not have any firsthand experience at all. A few weeks had gone by and it just got worse and worse. The head shoved up ass syndrome got worse. Your black holes got worse. Black holes, I would describe him as, he would just sit on the couch and watch TV or play video games and just didn't pay attention, didn't care what was going on around him. Distant. You could be in the room with him and it was as if you were by yourself. So, a few weeks went by like that, and one day he just got really, later that night, one night he got really upset because he forgot something that he like had just left in the kitchen or something like that, and he just got really, really upset with himself, started to beat himself up, and I had to run to the bank or go somewhere, and he said to me, "You look scared and sad," and I don't know, he just had a lost look on his face, and you said, go ahead and run to the store and run your errands, and I'm going to take care of something while you're gone. And I knew this meant that he wanted me to leave, and when I came back he wasn't going to be there. We ended up kind of fighting about it. I told him that, I keep saying him, you. I told you that I wasn't going to let that happen, and that you need help. And if you wanted to go to the hospital, all that we're going to do is put you on a 5150 hold or whatever and pump your ass full of drugs. And the problem still wouldn't be solved. I couldn't have been asking you to go to the vet center a few weeks prior. I had already done some research on it. And so that next day, I asked you to just stay home, and I didn't run to the bank or do whatever errand I needed to do. I asked you to trust me and to try the vet center, and if you felt like you still needed to do something, that you could go to the hospital, check yourself in. I knew the relationship weren't continuing the way that it had, because I was at my wit's end. I couldn't handle anymore not being able to understand what was going on, not being able to justify things in my head. I couldn't understand why you were doing half of the things that you were doing. So the next day I called, and they said they had induction that day, and you have to do induction in order, which is really just sit down and meet the people of the center. They have volunteers that meet you, and they kind of tell you a little bit about the center, and then they kind of just get you registered. Really easy, painless process. So that day I went with him. We went to the vet center, and they called a group of guys in, and there were more than just one there. I was really happy to see that. There were like 5 or 6 guys, and even one guy I remember brought a wife. So they called the group of people in, and Ken asked if I wanted to go in, and I felt like it was something that I really felt like I was there for moral support more than anything. It wasn't about me. It was about you. And so I just, I waited for you guys to, go in, and the lady went in with her husband, and I opted to stay out in the waiting room. When the door opened after that initial meeting was over, you had a sense of just like relief on your face. And you just looked like you knew that you weren't crazy. And I wanted you to know that. I wanted to know you weren't crazy. PTSD may feel like craziness, but it's not crazy. And I had a sense in my heart that though I knew it was going to be a long journey, every step was going to be worth it, and there was an end in sight. Doing what we were doing before wasn't going to work. It was going to lead to destruction, and on both of our parts. Not just you, but for me too. And then they met with us individually, and then I walked in the room, and on this board was everything that Ken had felt. Everything. And it was like, this makes sense. It was anxiety, depression, fear, unable to remember things. Everything that he was feeling was written on this damn board. And they told us about the services that the vet center had offered, and they set up an appointment with Ken for counseling. Since then, I've tried to support you and what you've needed to do with the counseling, but not tried to take over or be extremely involved. I've never sat down and met with Fernando, although I have met him. We've met at the gun range. We've had some conversations in the parking lot. But we went to the Christmas party. So just I've never sat down and talked to him about the things that Ken's going through. I've never talked to him about my concerns. I'm really happy that Ken has found a good relationship with Fernando. Sometimes drives me crazy when you have counseling appointments, because sometimes you can leave in a really good mood, and you and Fernando can talk about something, and it changes your mood. It's not always a bad thing, but it's not always a good thing either.
How has our relationship changed?
So much for the better. It's good. You talk to me now. The one thing I will have to say to people who are in relationships with somebody with PTSD is, you don't have to get it, but you have to get it. You have to understand that it's not something that you're ever going to understand. And it might be that he has a better relationship or clicks better with somebody who's been a vet, but that's because vets get along great with vets. There is a camaraderie and an understanding beyond anything that we could ever understand. We are there to support them and love them and drag them through this pit of hell, if so be it. We're not to sit there and judge. We're just sit there to be support. I've always felt like it doesn't matter how much, you may love that person times 1,000, but when you're going through something like with PTSD, you need to love them more than you've ever loved them before. And you gotta love them through the good times and the bad times. And continue to convince them that they're doing the right thing and that they're stronger for it, that they're not weak. Because this is not about being weak. It never has been. It's about your brain trying to make sense of something it can't make sense of. And the only people who know what that's like are the people who experience it. And PTSD is not just about men who have served in the military or men or women who have served in the military. It can be a traumatic experience that you just don't understand, whether it be a rape, a burglary, it doesn't matter. Your brain is trying to process something it can't completely understand. And when it comes to strong men, they want to think that they're untouchable because that's what they're made to believe. And in so many ways they are. They're strong and they're brave. They're fearless. they stand up when we can't. So it's times like this that we need to be able to stand for them. Stand with them. And just be there when they need us.
Wise words.
Thank you.
There
I've
we
learned
go.
a lot.
Yeah, you've learned a lot.
We've learned a lot.
We've learned a lot.
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Has our bond gotten, like, stronger?
Absolutely. Yeah, you tell me things now, and I get a lot of things now. Before, when it didn't make sense. You also stopped doing a lot of the head up ass syndrome stuff that you used to, so that's helped. But sometimes I wonder if, like, you not doing the dishes is PTSD or just being a boy.
Being a boy.
I think it's being a boy.
But I still help with the dishes.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell the people?
No.
No? Nothing?
To be continued.
To be continued? Yeah?
To be continued.
Can we expect to see more videos from you?
Maybe
your
when I
perspective?
have more notice. I am a girl.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Yeah?
It's all about this.
Oh, you gotta get it beautified, huh?
Beautified.
I think you're sexy anyway.
I think you're delusional.
She's pretty hot. Anyway. Oh, that's not hot. I'll cut that out. Edit. Alright, bye, baby.